Do you have it in you to earn a fortune? John Lee and Vincent Wong think you do, and better yet, claim to be able to teach you how to achieve it. The co-authors of The Wealth Dragon Way join me now. So you're both self-made millionaires. How did you make your fortunes and what are you worth exactly today?
I started in property about 18 years ago. My first property, obviously, I bought it to live in. It might sound strange to think that the property you live in is an investment, because this is quite a new concept for even today. Most people in Europe don't think that a property is an investment. But in fact, the first property I bought, I sold a year later because I needed to get into business, and I raised £40,000 just without doing anything. What am I worth today? Put it this way, my family can be comfortable for the rest of their lives and for a few generations to come.
Well, that's certainly what you're looking for. And in fact, you both claim to revolutionise the way people approach wealth. What do you mean by this exactly?
When we talk about fundamentally changing the mindset around how people think about money, it's to do with your relationship. What is your relationship with money? How do you see money? Are you a spender? Are you a saver? Or an investor? And I can guarantee most people watching this interview, they've been taught to save money for a rainy day. They've never been taught to invest money. In fact, when you go to school, they teach you to go to school, get good grades and get a job and work for somebody else. They don't say, hey, go out and trade Forex, or they don't say, go out and start your own business. It's not what do you have to do to get there. It's a very simple rule. You want to lose weight, you eat less and you exercise more. It's a simple rule. If you want to become wealthy, you get educated, you get a mentor and you learn the strategies. Very simple rule, but it starts with that person first.
You actually suggest in your book that anyone can be infinitely wealthy. Now, I have a slight problem with this because, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs such as yourselves, you have certain characteristics. You're very charismatic. You're clearly good with people. This is something that not everybody can learn. So in that respect, can everybody become infinitely wealthy?
For me, wealth is about choice. If you feel that you've got the capability to be the best that you can be, and be as wealthy as you can be, that you're physically endowed with in terms of capabilities, then it's become your moral obligation to be that person. Because it's not about greed. A lot of people get it mixed up, that if you have more money, you become greedy. No, because now power comes with responsibility, and that means you have the obligation to give it all back, to do good with it. At the end of the day, it's what you do with your money, because money does not actually make you a bad person. Money amplifies the person that you already are.
Well, your book shows that you're big advocates of self-education, and you're not, well, I wouldn't say a big fan, but you don't sort of push forward formal education, MBAs, that kind of thing. But surely, you know, the education, the degree, yes, there's not that many jobs at the end, it's not a guarantee, but it's sort of, it is a safe route. And being an entrepreneur, you know, you could easily fail at that as well.
That's exactly the reason why we wrote the book. You see, think about this for a second. You get born, right? You go through nursery, you go through high school, you go through college, and then some people go to university, and then some people go on to degree. So they go through all that education, and 9 times out of 10 they walk out with debt because education is expensive. They do that because they want to get a job. It's what we are taught to do. But here's the thing, is it safe? Because at any time someone can point the finger to you and say you're fired. At least when you are an entrepreneur, you start your own business, you're responsible for your future.
But look, John, I'm hearing a lot of inspirational talk, and it's great.
Yeah.
But let's get down to the nuts and bolts of it. Somebody's sitting there, maybe they're in debt, they have no idea what to do, how to start their own business, that sort of thing. What do they do?
Well, the first thing to do is to cut up the credit cards and start putting some real value on money. Everybody needs to have a plan as to how to get out of debt. Earning more money is not always the way forward, and always focusing on the debt is not the way forward neither. Perhaps there might be some fundamental issues in our spending behavior. Maybe it's in our psychology that some people buy just to make them feel better. They go on retail therapy. So maybe just to change your mindset. And then the third thing is, what is your comeback strategy? If you're in a job, maybe change jobs, or maybe you're not doing something that you enjoy, then start a business. But you need to educate yourself. Start spending time on your self-development and look for options that are available to you, because most people don't think there are options. In fact, there are many options. You just need to open your eyes.
It's about choice. Everyone right now, I don't care how broke they are, can go out and buy a book on self-education. It doesn't have to be our book. When you walk into Waterstones, you can see a whole bookshelf. That's where the secrets are. That's where the pearls of wisdom are. If people want to learn this stuff, the information's right there. I mean, they can go on the internet and search for this stuff. Hundreds and hundreds of videos out there for free education that people learn this stuff. But you know the funny thing? Even when you give it for free, people don't value it. Motivation or inspiration that gets them to do something. You know, if you said to someone, if you pointed a gun to their head and say you have 7 days to make £1,000 from something, I guarantee you 9 out of 10 would do it, because it's not about whether they can or not. It's about whether they will or not, and that's the question.
So basically, you're suggesting people take responsibility for their lives and their futures.
The problem is, in this country, everyone's comfortable. So you're absolutely right. The moment people take responsibility and stop blaming because of this, because of that, the moment they start saying to themselves, it's because of me, that's when they become successful.
Well, this leads me actually nicely onto my next question, and I'm wondering whether this is a cultural mentality, because of course you're both BBC, British-born Chinese, and Chinese people definitely have the reputation of being very hard workers, whereas in England we don't perhaps have such a strong reputation in that respect. So is it all cultural?
Well, I guess, because when my parents first came to the UK, they settled in Liverpool, and what else could they do? They weren't going to get a job. They had to open a restaurant. So we learned from a very early age that we had to be responsible for our own living and our own future. So yes, there are a lot of people, Asian communities as well, who are willing to work long hours and do the jobs that other people were unwilling to do. And I think that's a great attribute. But that can be available to anybody. Anyone can just take their financial future in their own hands. The difference between an entrepreneur and someone who isn't is that we get paid by results. And that means if we don't get paid, we don't get to eat. And we have to make sure all our staff, employees, everyone is paid before we are. So it's about taking responsibility and not pointing fingers and blame that if I'm not working, it's so-and-so's fault, it's the government's fault, and I'm not getting enough benefits and so forth. I'm not saying that the genuine people who need help should not get help from our entitlements. But at the same time, we do need to take massive action. Because like John said, if I point a gun to your head and say, you got to make some money, you will. Because I think out of desperation, people will take action. But until then, most people are comfortable.